He's ASAP, player, live with it. Demons posted all around me, I can't beat them all alone. Thinking about you, add it to your thoughts. It's evil thoughts that start to drown me, Lord, don't leave me all alone. Thinking about you, add it to your thoughts.
What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my review for Highest to Lowest in one take. So, this is a neo-noir crime thriller that is an English language reinterpretation of Akira Kurosawa's 1963 film High and Low, which in itself is loosely based on the 1959 novel King's Ransom by Ed McBain. So going into this movie, I was definitely looking forward to seeing this for many reasons, one of which is that this is the latest film directed by Spike Lee. This is Spike Lee's latest joint, his first in 5 years, since Da 5 Bloods in 2020, which, can't believe it was that long ago. And this is his first film that has been theatrically released, at least majorly theatrically released, since 2018's Black Klansman. Both of those films from those respective years, 2018, 2020, they were among my favorites of those years, and now this film has seen a bit of a theatrical release before it heads to streaming on Apple TV Plus in 3 weeks. And he is reuniting with Denzel Washington for the 5th time, Denzel being the lead here. And like I just mentioned, this is a reimagining or remake or whatever different kind of rendition of Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, which, for those that don't know, that film follows a Japanese businessman who is the head of a shoe company trying to leverage a buyout, and he's using his life savings, but then things change when a kidnapper mistakenly kidnaps his chauffeur's son instead of his own and wants a big ransom worth millions. I literally just watched that film for the first time last night to prepare for Highest to Lowest. And to give my brief thoughts here, that film is a police procedural that was very influential on the genre and a bunch of crime movies going forward. And I can see a lot of the influence there. The first hour or so of that movie, just setting everything up and then executing what has to be done or what is trying to be done to get this ransom paid, to get this son back unharmed. I mean, I thought that was just brilliantly done. Then the second half or so, the movie does turn into that aforementioned main genre of being a police procedural. And I did think that, while not boring, I thought it dragged in terms of having a lot of details and exposition be given that could have been cut down. The movie runs at nearly 2.5 hours, and I did not think it needed to be that long. But when it is all said and done coming together, I mean, Akira Kurosawa is a master of the medium of cinema. So this is a solid effort from him regardless. So to see what Spike Lee was going to do in reimagining this in modern day New York, that had me looking forward to seeing it. This also, again, being his first movie in years. Now, previously people would point out that the last time he adapted a movie from East Asia was Oldboy back in 2013. Of course, that is a remake of Park Chan-wook's Oldboy. Very good movie. And yeah, didn't turn out so well when Lee tried redoing it, starring Josh Brolin and such. But with Highest to Lowest, this premiered at a competition at the Cannes Film Festival this year and got a lot of buzz, and again, seeing the cast come together, a lot of other stuff. I was just really looking forward to seeing it. And again, I was able to see this thing in a theater where it is currently available before it streams on Apple TV Plus in 3 weeks. Shout out to my local chain, Classic Cinemas, for being one of the very few theaters to get this movie near where I live in the Chicagoland area. And if you saw on my ticket stub earlier, my ticket was $0.00 because I used my free birthday ticket that my local chain gives every year to go see this movie. Happy belated birthday to me. It was this past Sunday, August 10th. So yeah, without further ado, let's start out with the cast and their performances. We have Denzel Washington as our lead, David King. Now, Denzel, what can I say about him? I've said this in my most recent reviews for movies of his in the last couple of years. I think it was for Gladiator 2 and The Equalizer 3. I mean, he is one of the greatest actors of all time. Certainly one of my favorite actors of all time. So in this reinterpretation of High and Low, he is a music mogul. So he's the head of a music company or business, a label, and he is, of course, having lived a lavish life and seen decades of success, but not so much in the recent history that the movie starts out with now. And all this similar stuff that happens in the Kurosawa film happens here, just in modern day New York, where his chauffeur's son is kidnapped, and they have to figure out what's going on and like what to do with it. Washington, I think, works out so many things that he effortlessly does in so many other movies here. I mean, he's over assured of himself. He is so just so regal in how he looks. I mean, his character's last name is King, but he's a literal king for how he is in terms of stature and his status and just the poise and composure that he gives. I mean, I can go on about Washington. I'm just glazing him at this point, but Washington gives one of the best film performances of the year thus far with playing this character, doing what he does best. Then the rest of the cast here, there's quite a few players to mention. Ilfanesh Hedera plays his beautiful wife, and she's more than just the loving wife here, because she does have quite a bit to do and to say, getting involved with at first thinking that their son got kidnapped, but then it's really the chauffeur's son. I really like the chemistry that they had together, just being this couple, husband and wife. There's also Jeffrey Wright, who plays King's chauffeur here. So he has a lot of weight on him when his son being the one that's kidnapped. He also gets a bunch of the great moments here, I feel. In terms of a supporting role, I mean, he had the funniest lines and a bunch of quips here, especially when he's clashing against the three detectives who are working on the case, because of course, who wouldn't be worked up about the situation? I mean, your son or your child in general is kidnapped and you want him or her back, and wants to do something about it directly here. So Wright, I think, is wonderful in this film too. And then we have a big player here with A$AP Rocky. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed how stupid of an intro I did for this video and me covering a song from him. Clearly, I'm a fan of his music, and this isn't his first time acting, actually. A decade ago by now, he was in Dope, and now here he has a role of bigger relevance as he is the one who plays the kidnapper, and we mostly see him towards the third act of the movie. Mostly he's seen over the phone in voiceover technically, and is like not seen fully with his face, but Rocky plays a character named Young Felon who is a rapper and has orchestrated this kidnapping and is directly at King specifically. And for this kind of character, I mean, of course he's playing into what he knows, I feel, in being in the rap game, all that stuff. But then also when we get to the scene where it's a big confrontation between him and Washington's characters, it's it's something to behold, because you see these two go at it, both metaphorically and literally. Kind of turns into a bit of a rap battle, if you would. But then you see like these ideologies clashing and just what the movie has so much to say about in terms of its theming and all of its relevance that's here. So, Rocky, I thought did quite a reputable job here with his role. And then another rapper is also featured in this film, Ice Spice, but she's only in one scene, but I'm not so big a fan of her music, but her line delivery for the one scene that she had was good. And then there's a bunch of other players here as well. But with the main cast here, I think the main cast deliver exceptional performances. And then getting into the writing, which the screenplay was done by Alan Fox. Great name. For those that don't know, my real name is Alan, and coincidentally, I'm wearing my In a World Full of Kens Be an Alan shirt. Proper spelling too, A-L-A-N. All three of us share those names. The shirt, me, and Fox writing the screenplay. So with his screenplay, what he has done is take High and Low and, of course, rework it into modern day New York City, and also take some elements from the Kurosawa film and not necessarily try to copy it, but also try to do things on their own and feel like they work within the narrative. So in its setup, we get the basic same setup that we did in the original, again, of course, redone for this film to tell. And then after everything is set up and we get into the actual kidnapping plot line, the movie, I think, really gets underway. And I feel it's kind of a bit of the opposite effect that I had in watching High and Low last night compared to Highest to Lowest today, in that the first half of Highest to Lowest, I think, takes a bit to get into. Not that it's boring, slow, or whatever, but there's all this that's being set up here. And of course, I'm keenly aware in the back of my mind that I'm watching an English language reinterpretation of a classic from Kurosawa. And then after everything else is like set up and executed and it goes further, the movie, I think, really ramps up and picks up the pace, unlike what the back half of High and Low does, at least from how I felt watching it. And Spike Lee directing here, I mean, him directing his latest joint with Highest to Lowest, it shows that, at least with how I feel, or how I felt in watching his last 3 joints in a row with this Defy Bloods and Black Klansman, I mean, he is taking a different turn in his filmography, and I think it works so well with how punchy he is in terms of how he focuses everything all together. Excuse me. And when we get into the sequence that involves trains here. In the original film, I mean, that was quite a thrilling moment to see happen, and it basically caps off the first hour and being some of the best that I've seen from Kurosawa. Here in Highest to Lowest, it's reworked with the subway system that is in NYC, and with all the tension and all the drama that is coming up with it, and also just mixing in the backdrop of this Puerto Rican festival with Eddie Palmieri having music performed here. We just lost him, rest in peace. We lost him just last week, so this is one of his final appearances in anything multimedia related ever. So seeing that here was just so great. You know, his Latin jazz music being worked into the background and also cut to a bunch of the time while this sequence involving the subways and the ransom is happening. I mean, that is just one of my favorite sequences of any movie this year thus far. And there's so many other technical elements that I have to praise with the film, but I want to circle back quickly to the writing by Alan Fox. After a certain point, like I said, when we get the ransom set up and the ransom and the kidnapping and just all this other stuff coming together, the movie after a certain point then wisely does not become a police procedural per se, like what Kurosawa did in the original. And, you know, I may be talking sacrilegiously here, but I think that was for the better, because the movie is doing its own thing. Again, it's not just completely riffing on what Kurosawa did before, but I think it works it also with a lot of the big themes and layers that the movie has to talk about here. Because again, this movie is about a music mogul put in this situation here. You know, he's not doing that well financially, even though he's seen big success for a while. This kidnapping occurs, a lot is put on his shoulders, and then going up until we see the confrontation between himself and young felon. I mean, it's a commentary on a lot. You could see commentary between class, status, just the way modern society is going, and how the movie has something to say while also trying to tribute what Kurosawa has done decades ago too. I mean, there's one specific shot that I easily caught as a tribute to what was done later on towards the end of the film, and a bunch of other callbacks to what High and Low previously did. And with the technical elements of the film, now going back to that part, the way the movie looks and sounds, I think, is just meant to be seen on the big screen, even though this is going to be mostly be seen on streaming on Apple TV Plus. But having luckily seen this thing in a theater, I was able to really appreciate the cinematography by Matthew Lebatique. I mean, NYC, and this is an NYC seasoned movie with all of the different shots sprinkled in, with just showing off a setting that Spike Lee knows and loves so well here. The opening title sequence is a bunch of establishing shots, a series of establishing shots showing the city. And then, of course, we get to see a lot of the city, too, once things get going and the action's going underway as well. The way the movie is cut, the movie is cut a very specific way because it's not in-your-face editing. So there's some shots that repeat themselves after they cut to or have already happened. I guess just to emphasize the tenacity and the punchiness of the movie here, because after, of course, the kidnapping occurs, that's when the movie gets a lot more urgent, I feel. And a lot of inserts of various shots, of course, that are more relevant to the movie thematically than what is initially thought of, or if you catch them right away. Again, a lot of thought is put in here from what I was able to catch. And, ooh, that siren. But in any sense, yeah, so all that put in between there. The music, I have to talk about the music for this film because there are 2 new songs by A$AP Rocky in this movie, so that's cool to hear. Again, Eddie Palmieri's music is briefly used during that one aforementioned train sequence. The original score, though, I was not so big into. It sounded like it was more royalty-free music than something orchestrally composed for a feature film. I think it was bad, but it certainly did not feel like the movie was using a type of music that should have been used to play up the urgency or just how it was supposed to be expressing the flow of the narrative. At least that's what I thought. I'm not saying that hip hop and rap, aside from A$AP Rocky's music, should have been put in all over the place here, but I think it would have been better if it was just heightened or elevated more to be more than just sounding like orchestra music or something you can find and use for free on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, so that's one thing I would knock against this movie for. But one thing I would not knock this movie for is for how it does flow itself altogether with its running time. It runs for about 2 hours and 13 minutes, I believe. It's about 10 minutes shorter than the Kurosawa film, but it does more with less. Again, wisely not playing up the police procedural angle so much, because that I thought really brought that original movie down for me. But still, it's so well made regardless, because again, Kurosawa is a master. But from what I was seeing in this being a reinterpretation of that story with Highest to Lowest, I thought it was of great benefit, and I was so engaged, especially with the second half coming into play. And then we also get the significance of the title of this movie by the end, which I was like, wow, it capped off something that just fits so well. And yeah, all in all, I feel that this is a remarkable reimagining of a classic, and on its own, just seeing this as a crime drama, this is one of my favorite movies of the year thus far. And again, I am really loving what Spike Lee has been doing lately now with his previous 3 movies, or most recent 3 movies in a row, with this To Five Bloods and Black Klansman, because of what he's doing and playing with different genres, but also different stories just coming all together and having a sense of identity here. And, you know, Black Klansman was a return to form for him. And my personal favorite movie of his is Malcolm X. But of course, he's made a ton of noteworthy movies before, and I hope he continues to do so, because with this, yeah, I loved Highest to Lowest, as you can tell. And I think that if you're able to, given that this movie just got released here in cinemas, at least in the US, it's available to see in theaters before it comes on Apple TV Plus in 3 weeks. If you don't mind waiting, of course you can wait to see it streaming there, but I feel that I highly recommend those that are able to see this in the theater to go see it, because, you know, seeing a Spike Lee joint in the theater, I think, is the best way, just like with any other movie, really. And yeah, again, I think that Highest to Lowest is something that you could say recency bias or anything like that, having just seen this back to back with Kurosawa's film. I would say that this is the superior movie, at least the way I feel, in that being more enjoyable to watch and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that there. But in any sense, I'm curious to see what everyone else is thinking of this movie on its own and compared to the Kurosawa classic, because yeah, again, that's what I'm all about, continuing the conversation of movies as a whole. And just again, when I saw something, or when I see something that I am so into like this, and I was so happy to see, you know, I gotta talk about it, as I have been doing for about 20 minutes now, so I should just wrap this up. all in all, again, I loved Highest to Lowest. One of my faves of the year thus far. Highly recommended. All that's left for me to do is to give my final verdict for this film. My final verdict for Highest to Lowest is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Highest to Lowest. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.